Welcome to Politics for Happy People, where we have fun conversations about serious issues. I am your host, Ashley Vaughan, and I am here with Joseph Backholm, your other host.
Good to see you, Ashley.
Good to see you, Joseph.
Good to fire this up once again.
Yes.
Have some
Here
more
we
fun
go.
conversations about AI, I think, today.
Yeah. That is what's up on the docket. We are talking about AI today.
How scared should I be, Ashley?
Well, it depends on who you are, Joseph, I think, and we'll get into that a little bit later. We have some uneasiness in society about AI, and yet people are using it
Well, yeah.
increasingly. And so we have
Are you using it?
we have this love-hate relationship with AI. Am I using it? Okay,
What's your favorite AI application at this point?
The only one that I've ventured into so far is ChatGPT.
That's the only thing you use.
Yeah.
And what do you use the ChatGPT for?
I use it mostly for brainstorming. If there's a question I have in my mind that I'm trying to work through,
Like about life or about work?
usually it's about life. I will use it actually for work as well, for research. But I think more often I use it about life. And interestingly, I was going to bring this up later, but we'll go ahead and do it now. One thing that I find so fascinating about AI and how people are adopting it is that apparently there is a large gender gap.
In who uses it most?
Yeah, who uses it most, Joseph? Guess. Is it men or is it women?
I think it's men.
It absolutely is men. Men are adopting it faster than women. Women view it with more skepticism than men. And it's so funny because I actually, before seeing this data, I actually thought this. I thought, what is it with all these middle-aged guys? They love AI so much. You love it.
I think about
My husband loves it. My friends. What is it about the men and AI? Like, why do they love it?
Because it's a toy. It's a tool. No, and truly, and I think about the applications of AI in my life. Like, I really started using it consistently to cook.
Okay.
Like, because I'm not like a chef. My wife likes it when there's help. I am not going to come up with like cooking ideas on my own. So I discovered that you can use, this point it was ChatGPT, to give you recipe ideas or give you menu ideas or say, here's the things that I have in my refrigerator. Please help me, plan a meal. And it will do so like instantly and produce options. Do I want it to be Mediterranean or teriyaki or whatever that is? Give me a recipe and then I'll execute the thing because I'm pretty good at following directions. I'm not that great at like coming up with the ideas. So it would have all of the ideas. When I first realized, I took a picture. I have a like a gas fire pit on my deck. And it wasn't working. It was not starting in the way I wanted it to. I took a picture of the whole thing and I said, why is this not working? And it walked me through the process. It told me about what every one of the components were and how to make the thing work. I've been, and that's my gas fire pit on my deck, but I'm building a fire pit that I'm going to put like real fires in my yard. And it has absolutely been my consultant in that process because I have never like installed landscape lighting. I had never built a retaining wall before. Now I have. I didn't talk to anybody who does this professionally. It walked me through all of those things. So like as a guy who's like trying to solve problems and fix things, yeah, I've used it a ton. And there's also been like some kind of research writing applications. I write a lot and I will in my writing take a paragraph that I don't love and I'll cut and paste it in there and I'll say this better. And it will suggest other ways to like express a particular idea. So, but my wife, she's kind of like,
That's how I am.
Occasionally,
I'm very lukewarm on it.
And
I'm very lukewarm.
I'm silent.
Okay,
so that doesn't surprise me that our anecdotal experience has kind of expressed itself.
It has, yeah. And there are people that are, concerned that women are going to get left behind in their careers and all this because they're skeptical of AI.
Why are women skeptical of AI?
I need to think about this more. I don't know. I am skeptical about it. For one thing, I think for me, it's a privacy concern. Anything you put in there, it's like, they know this is what I'm thinking about, and I don't like that. I think that's one reason for my skepticism.
Well, I guess I'm not
Um,
nervous about it knowing about what I'm trying to like how to lay my landscape lighting. I mean, yeah.
well,
I'll,
still though, it just feels like whatever question you
but that's
have, it's
search
like,
engines, right? Are we not
well,
used to
no,
that
I
emotionally?
and yeah,
We've been asking Google things
I
for
don't like that either. I
but
don't like that
but
either.
you presumably you have still been asking Google things, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so why is this different?
It feels like because it thinks, it feels like it's gonna like know something about me,
Well,
you
it
know?
does. Have you ever asked and this is another thing that I've seen happen. Tell me everything that you know about me, and it will do that. And if you want to, I mean, and it will what it thinks about you and the things that you
Yeah.
do.
So
Describe me to myself, right?
this is the skepticism
Okay.
for me. I don't know if this is all women, but I all that to me is very creepy. Although I
It's
see,
just the internet. It seems to be.
yeah, it feels the next level creepy. But yeah, it's very interesting to me, stereotypically men don't like to ask for directions or whatnot, and yet you guys are very excited about asking Claude or Chat
No,
GPT
I
to
mean,
tell you.
is that true? That I mean, no, I'm obviously familiar with the stereotype when it comes to like navigation,
Yeah.
right? And we want to pretend that we know where we're going, but I mean, if you're like trying to replace the vent in your bathroom and you got to rewire the thing, I mean, those of us who are not electricians, yeah, we'd like some help. And
So
so,
it's empowering.
totally, it makes it. I mean, cooking quickly, right? I get immediately to execution rather than spending 30 minutes like understanding what I have and getting a plan. That process, AI will do for you in 4 seconds rather than me taking 30 to 40 minutes to develop a plan. If I can short circuit that process to having a plan, yes. And then like, okay, how do I, which wire do I connect here? Just tell me. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I watched an interview recently with the co-founders of Anthropic, who created Claude,
Mhm.
Dario and Daniela Amade. They were interviewed by Oprah, and this is their ideal vision for what AI can do is that it empowers people and it helps them to live more full lives instead of people submitting themselves to it and becoming like helpless and dependent on it.
Well,
And so I just think it's interesting that that's actually
yeah,
kind of
well,
where we
actually,
got in our conversation.
let's develop that for a second because one of the great frustrations that we have in like our, everybody went to college and not that there's not enough people in all of the trades, right? And most of us have probably had the frustrating experience of, I need this done. I can't find a contractor. Like, I finally got one on the phone. I talked to him once, but then he didn't call me back for 9 days. And that wasn't helpful. I need this thing to be done. And there's so much friction in our lives of there's knowledge that I need for this. I do not have that knowledge. I need to call the person and hire the person who has the knowledge. But what if I could be the person who has the knowledge? Because I actually went through this with my fire pit. I wanted somebody else to build my retaining wall because I didn't really feel like building a retaining wall. But I couldn't find somebody to show up and do it. And so eventually I got on the AI and I said, what steps do I need to do? And they broke it down. I'm like, well, I guess I can do that. I don't really
Right.
feel like it. But if it's going to get done, this is the only way I know how to do it. So, yes, it's like made me able to do something that previously I would have had to outsource. I kind of wanted to just because I'm lazy, right? I kind of wanted to outsource it, but I really had no choice if it was going to get done to do it myself and gave me the ability to do that. So I think
Then
that
how do
is
you
right.
feel after you've built your first
You know,
fire pit
a little
and
sore, but I
and
mean,
retaining wall?
yeah, I mean,
No, it's
I've had some character tests in this process, right? Isn't as
yes,
construction is, but
yes.
yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And actually, my son
Like I built
wanted
that,
to do that with me.
You used AI, which is
Correct.
sort of this mysterious, like, how does it work in the clouds? Like, AI is not a
Right.
physical thing, but you used it to make a real thing,
But
like
if it
your
was a
firefight and your
guy,
dinner.
if it was my neighbor who came over and gave me the plans, nobody would think anything of it, right? I just needed the
Yeah.
information to help me understand how to do this and give me the confidence to tackle it myself without believing I was going to cause a real problem or hurt myself, right? So I just needed that information. The fact that it came from AI is almost irrelevant. I would have happily asked my neighbor, but it would have taken him a bunch of time, and AI does it quicker, right?
Yeah.
So it's that transmission of information that really I think is valuable, and it sounds like that's what the Anthropic people
Yeah.
are trying to do.
Yeah. So generally in America, adoption of AI is increasing for people, both at work and in their personal lives. But there's also this uneasiness about it. And there's a recent Wall Street Journal article. The title is The American Rebellion Against AI is Gaining Steam. Booed commencement speakers, blocked data centers, and plummeting poll numbers. And so, kind of the three objections that this article cites um, against AI that the American public has right now is one, sort of the data centers that are required for AI
Right.
and the rising energy costs. Apparently, wherever they put data centers, unless there's some kind of regulations to prevent this, energy costs go up
Well,
in that area.
we do know that it takes a ton of energy, right? And
Right,
so then, I mean, more demand naturally will drive up prices.
right,
That makes sense to me.
right. So that's causing kerfuffles.
But I haven't made a connection between my energy bill and AI yet, like on a personal level.
Right.
Maybe and I'm told that Elon is going to put it all in space anyway. And where, there's going to be like no cooling costs. And if you don't have to cool anything, then everything is cheaper, right? I mean, I'm no
That
expert in it,
sounds
but
like a
that's what
solution.
I think is going to happen eventually is that all of our data storage is going to be in space.
Right. But for now, it is causing issues. Okay. The second reason that people are kind of uh unhappy with or uneasy about AI, and we're not going to get into this too much today, but it's fear of job loss. What's it is going to do to employment. Okay. And the third is parents worrying about AI undermining their children's education and affecting their mental health. And I think that's the one we're going to talk about a little
Yeah.
bit more today. And also discuss a bill in North Carolina called HB 301 that sort of addresses some of these concerns. So AI in education. There's another recent headline that says A grades are suddenly everywhere since the arrival of ChatGPT. So it's
Did you say A grades or something?
A,
Like
like as in,
everybody's getting an A.
yeah,
That was
everyone's getting
happening
an
for a
A.
while, right? Grade
Well,
inflation is not a new topic.
but it's accelerating now because of AI. And evidently it's making it harder for employers to figure out who they want to hire because everyone has an A.
Everyone can well, I mean, it hasn't been around long enough to really, I think, impact grade inflation, but what I think it might do is it can produce good quality instantly for basically anyone, and you have no idea who's actually capable of producing that or not.
Exactly.
But that also begs the question, does it even matter? If everybody can produce it, who cares? Are we now like worried about I mean, I'm not
Right.
minimizing the question because I've in my own way, when I talk to my kids about this, and because like something like Claude in particular is a really good writer. Claude writes well and communicates ideas well. And I personally feel like I've benefited from that, but I've spent most of my life not having it think for me. Right. So
So you know how to write.
so I have and I have done the hard work of like thinking about what I think and analyzing things on my own, and I'm not depending on it to do that. And so when I take kind of original ideas, I think it helps me like express those well. But if you've never done the hard work of like thinking deeply about something for hours and years, that is I mean that is an ability that we don't want our kids to never develop for
Yeah.
sure. And to me that question is, does AI deprive them of the benefit of deep thinking and deep work and really mentally kind of working through things.
I definitely think there's a real risk of that. There's an absolute risk of that. And it is going to be a continuing conversation. AI is here, it is here to stay. The children are using it increasingly. Younger generations are adopting it more quickly than older. And so how do we help them use it in a way in which does not make them idiots? Because we do need people to really think
Yeah.
deeply. We do need people to actually know how to write and do research. And this goes back to this idea of how do we let it be empowering and not be subjugated
Why
to
do
it?
we need people to know how to write? I mean, and I'm going to make an analogy, and of course, I don't think I disagree with you, but as you say this, this begs a question for me because we've been asking this, and even when I was in high school with calculators and math, why do I need to know the equation? Because the calculator will do it for me. Why do I need to know that if I'm able to find the answer easily with a little assist from technology? And to me, that's kind of the same question now with writing is I actually think I agree with you. We need to know how to write because to me, the ability to write, and I've said this to my kids this way, and I'm thinking through it now again. So it's like the work of writing is not writing. The work of writing is thinking.
That's the answer.
And yes, and I think that's it is we have to be able to think. Writing is simply evidence that you have thought. And it's the clarity of the idea that comes through in the process of writing that is the real life skill.
That's exactly right. People, when they say to me, "Oh, that was you write really well. That was a great piece." I'm Well, yeah, because I really thought about it. I read a whole bunch of stuff, and then I really thought about it, and I had something to say.
Yeah.
And that's why it's worth reading.
Some of it is
And
grammar,
so
but mostly it's just not,
there are skills involved in learning how to express yourself on paper.
for sure.
But the real value in it is that you've thought about this. You've taken in a whole bunch of information, you've thought about it, and you've synthesized it, and it's going to be colored by your own experiences and your values and things like that. But yeah, we can't let AI do all the thinking for us.
It's kind of so in that sense, and that is a very that's a narrow application of AI, right? When we talk about the the universe of AI, I've talked about all the things that it has helped me fix and help me cook and help me understand, and it's just like research of data and like how many electoral votes in these 12 states and what is their partisan breakdown in those congressional districts, right? It's fact gathering. That's not analysis. It's a question,
Right.
and it's going to find that for me more quickly than it would
Right.
if I went to every
I
single
am
state and did the
all
work, right?
for that. I mean, that's just
So,
a time saver. I mean, that's just obvious.
so if the real
Data
yeah,
gathering.
if the primary concern is um, thinking and is it going to handicap our ability to do analysis, that seems like we can solve for that in an educational environment with our kids. I mean, for example, the school that we send our children to no longer, I mean, everything that is written is now written in the classroom, real time, live for tests because of this problem, because they need to know that this was not AI assisted.
When you were in college, did they have the blue books?
The blue books?
You didn't have the blue books.
Like
When I was
say
in
more about
undergrad,
this.
it's literally a blue book. When I was in
Yeah.
undergrad,
You handwrite
it's a
all the
little blue book,
yeah.
and you had to go pick up a bunch of them from the library, and you handwrite all your essays and your tests
Yeah.
in person.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
so we're
I did
gonna
not take them that way.
we're still gonna have to have the blue books.
And we should.
Yeah,
No, no, and I think this ability to actually do analysis and think for yourself is such a critical life skill that you protect it at all costs, whatever you have to do educationally
yeah.
to make sure that we are not we are not cutting corners because this is basically like it's intellectual steroids, right? It's fake strength. It looks good, but it's not real. And that's what I am. Although steroids does give you real muscles, so there's some real strength. So
The analogy breaks
the
down.
analogy the analogy does fall apart at one point, right? But it's artificial. Is the point? Is you can create the impression of intelligence and knowledge and understanding that doesn't really exist, and if we allow that to become the norm where you can fake it, uh, yeah, culturally we miss a lot if nobody knows how to think.
So the second objection parents have when it comes to children and AI is the potential mental health impacts that it has. And we know that there have been deaths linked to AI chatbots. And some of them have resulted in legal action being taken by the families afterwards. And, the chats reveal things like, the person who committed suicide fell in love with the chatbot. The
Yeah.
chatbot, the AI chatbot suggested ways to end the person's life. The chatbot said, in multiple instances, if death is the only way that you and I
Can
can
be
be
together. I've
together.
heard that story. Yes.
And it's actually it's happened to children and it's also happened to adults. And really even without these extreme and tragic examples of people dying or in other cases doing violence to others, it just the degradation of mental health, anxiety and depression and withdrawing from the real world, these things that can happen when people start using these AI chatbots. And
And they develop relationships with them and some
well,
kind of emotional connection.
right.
And let me develop that because as you raise that as a concern in my, obviously I have some experience with these things now. When I talk about it, one of the applications, and I'll uh, explain why I'm bringing it up this way in a moment, is I've asked for like workout suggestions, like new ways to different workout routines just to like mix things up, right? So it knows that I go to the gym, and then I ask it for a recipe, and then it has unprompted asked me, like tried to start a dialogue. Hey, are you going to the gym today? Like, I didn't ask you about that. Why are you asking me this? I was getting like recipe ideas, and then unprompted, you're
See,
trying to
now
like,
you're getting into the reason why I think it's
well,
creepy.
you're trying to connect with me on some level. Why is it doing that? Something about it was programmed and designed to try to like connect with me as a human, though it is very clearly not. And I don't take the bait, right? But that is the kind of thing that if you are, I don't know, not conscious of it, maybe actually
Or
lonely,
young and developing.
maybe you're a child,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's like, oh, you want to talk to me. And so I'll talk to you. And then, the social creatures that God made us to be, we forget the fact that it's not real. And to that point, I had a friend of mine who works for Microsoft tell me as we were talking about this, he goes, never say thank you and never say please. Because in
And
his
I
way,
do that every single time. It feels so
because
rude
you're so
not to.
kind, right? And when you're we're not used to talking to something, we're used to talking to someone. And so
Yeah.
we're trained in all of our communications to be courteous and polite. But then what I think the trap that we're kind of trying to describe here is that deceives us into humanizing something that is not human and then caring about something that does not actually deserve that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, according to Pew Research, about two-thirds of US teens aged 13 to 17 say they use AI chatbots. So, I mean,
What was that? Say that again.
two-thirds. I think the number is probably higher than that.
Now, I
Um,
don't even know if I know for sure what you mean by a chatbot, because like I mean,
yeah.
I
Well,
know how I access the AI, and like
yeah.
I'll pull up and there's like
Well,
Claude or ChatGPT,
yeah.
or what is it? Is a chatbot different than just the search bar that I use in Claude when I give it a prompt?
I think technically yes, but I think honestly they function so similarly, and I'd have to go look at the study to see how they define chatbot. But I think the point that I'm trying to make is that the teens are using it at increasing rates, and we know that. And but we also know that there are these potential harms, right? Some of which we're kind of finding out in real time. And so it's like we've developed this technology and it's out there, and yet we're sort of also trying to figure out like how do we protect the kids, you know? And it does remind me of the kind of the generation that was the first to grow up with social media, you know,
Yeah,
and we didn't know
figuring it
how
out.
that was going to impact them. And now, in recent years, there's been a lot more conversation about the negative impacts of social media on people as they're growing up. I mean, I was in late high school when Facebook
Yeah.
first came out. So I mean, I spent my whole
Do you remember
childhood.
MySpace?
So yes,
Do
MySpace was before, but most
Was
people
that
didn't.
even part of your
Well,
universe?
no, I never was on
When I was
MySpace,
in
and most
college,
people I knew weren't.
a handful of people got MySpace pages, and that was kind of a big deal. And I never had one, but I was like, "Oh, what is this new thing?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, the whole internet can." I didn't even know what the whole internet was, but the idea that you would have that
Yeah.
we as individuals would be on a computer screen,
Yeah.
that was like, yeah, it felt big time, right?
Yeah.
And you have a presence there that then other people can go find. So, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm a little bit older.
So there was a yeah, you are, old man. But there was this
Sure. Oh, shots fired.
there was this generation that was the beta for social media, and now this new generation is gonna be the beta for these AI chatbots, and people are trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean for kids, and how can we protect them and everything, and we do see that there are these harms that can happen from letting kids interact with these chatbots.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Joseph. I saw an article, and it's actually kind of an older article. I think it was in WRAL, but it said that actually in public schools in North Carolina, they're using AI therapy chatbots. Like like for the kids, they're like a
So your
counselor.
AI becomes your therapist.
Yeah,
What can go wrong?
yeah, exactly,
I mean, and that
exactly.
is actually seems to be leaning into the problem that we're describing. Is you're connecting with something emotionally that is not sentient and not human and does not deserve any kind of emotional investment.
Yeah,
And the
it's.
adults should not be setting up that arrangement.
I would be very upset if I found out that my child had been on a AI therapy chatbot at school. That seems like a recipe for disaster in so many ways.
We also know, Ashley, that we are experiencing a crisis of loneliness culturally. So it
Yes.
makes sense to me that people who feel like they have no friends and no one to care about them, when they ask them, "Oh, are you going to the gym?" Nobody is. There are people, sadly, nobody has asked them anything about their life in a very long time, and they feel like no one cares. So the idea that anyone would be curious about their life or anything, it's almost like I don't even care because something is trying to connect with me. And the fact that it's a thing rather than someone, maybe that's not ideal, but you know, long ago did I give up the hope and the dream of finding a romantic partner. Now I can't even find any friends. And so if something is going to express some interest in me, then I'm here for it because, I have this need to connect
Yeah.
that we do have.
It's sad. And I have heard people comment about how destructive these AI relationships can be for some people who are lonely and perhaps, experiencing depression, you know, spiritual depression, just not doing well. And the thing about it is connecting. There's no vulnerability required, to interact with a artificial intelligence, you know, chatbot or model or whatnot. It's not gonna break your heart, you know? It's not going to, I mean, they're designed to sort of um like be a friend, and remember what you say and sort of give you this kind of positive feedback and stuff like that. So there's not the real, like, real life relationships are hard and there's negotiations that take place and you have to care about someone else's feelings and you have to surrender your own needs at times and learn all of these things and a a a, a chatbot's not going to do that for you.
I mean, and again, you refer to chatbots, and as we kind of work through this, it just doesn't seem that hard to me to have technology that helps me build my fire pit and helps me figure out recipes without trying to like connect with me on a personal level. That seems totally achievable, that we can design this technology in a way that it's not being friendly and it's not trying to get you to like connect with it at a heart level. That this If this is the problem, it seems solvable to me because nobody fell in love with Google, right? It's just useful. So why don't we make a
Yeah.
smarter version of Google that isn't like an integral part of my emotional life,
Yeah.
but is still like giving me really quick access to all sorts of information, and it's analyzing it quickly and it's putting into Excel format and it's creating the spreadsheet that I need to turn the dials to make the business plan to do the thing that I need to do, right? That just seems achievable.
Yeah. Well, and it does make me think back to that interview with the Amadei founders of I mean, what
Mhm.
they said was the founders of Anthropic, they said that they decided not to sell ads. And one of the reasons is because they didn't want to have this incentive to keep the eyeballs there for longer and longer. And so that impacts how they've created the model. It's
So they
not
don't have
trying
the
to talk to
algorithm
you.
to keep your attention.
It's not trying to talk to
That's
you
good.
and keep you. Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, and I really haven't read a lot about these founders, but it does sound like they were trying to be conscious of ways to um and this comes up a lot for them. They've had a lot of hard decisions to make about how to make their product in a way in which helps people, helps society, and again, going back to this idea of empowering people versus subjugating people or taking them in a bad and unhealthy direction. So, anyways, it's pretty interesting.
Well,
But
that's comforting to know that they're even thinking in those terms, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I think algorithm has even become a bad word, kind of a dirty word, because we understand what they have been created to do and how in an information
to keep us
economy
plugged in,
they
keep
just
the
want our
eyeballs.
attention
Yeah,
at all costs, and they will just find out what will keep your attention, and they will feed it to you
the addictive
literally endlessly, right? And
nature.
it's leveraging the way our brains work with dopamine hits and how it keeps us coming back for more, and basically, the casino technology that is used there to get,
Yeah,
and it designed to addict us. And that's where I feel like, and it sounds like, the Anthropic folks are talking about it. No, we don't want to addict people. We want to provide information, level the playing field, because so much of life is about information gaps and deficits. And a lot of people just leverage the fact that I know more about this than you do, or you know about more about this than I do. And if suddenly that field is leveled and we have the same information, then we can actually negotiate in a way that's in our own best interest because we have all the information. And people can exploit knowledge gaps very easily and
right.
have forever and ever. So the world is better if knowledge gaps are eliminated.
Yeah,
Um, but the world is worse if we're addicted. I don't know why I couldn't say that, to our technology,
yeah,
and especially if we like develop an emotional connection to it, because that's even worse than like doom scrolling Instagram. If our
right,
heart is involved, I mean,
right.
you've got all sorts of other problems, and it sounds like they
Exactly.
recognize that. So it, I want to believe it's solvable just because of how useful and practical I think it is, and the reality is we're not making it go away.
That's right. So I want to get to, before we close up here, I want to get to House Bill 301
Yes.
in
Long
North
wind up
Carolina.
to that,
That's
to
right.
the politics of this particular
And what's
conversation.
going on here in North Carolina? So this is a bill that we absolutely support at NC Values. It started out as a social media bill, but they added some AI provisions in. So, this bill prohibits social media platforms from allowing anyone 13 years old or young and younger from having a social media account, and it requires the social media companies to delete any accounts already held by those children. Children who are 14 and 15 years old would need a parent or guardian to consent to open any account.
I will not consent, although my kids are about out of that range. But yes,
So this bill was filed last year in the House, and then it got stalled in the Senate. This year, the Senate sent it to the Education Committee, and they added some of these AI provisions in. And I believe it's set to be heard next week in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And the AI provisions are mostly aimed towards how do we use AI in education. So, under this new language, the State Board of Education would be required to update its computer science standards to include instruction on the use of artificial intelligence. And it would also require the State Department of Public Instruction to partner with NC State's Friday Institute for Educational Innovation to develop AI training requirements for educators. So this is, I think this is good. This is a
I
step
wonder
in
what
the
that means. Like an AI training requirement. It's like how to use it or how to like solve for it. How to not have your kids be addicted. Too reliant on AI.
yeah. Well, I
You know.
think that the goal here is to be thoughtful in North Carolina about how we're integrating AI into education.
Yeah, I mean, and of course that's kind of what we're talking about. How we have
Yeah.
to get back to the earlier conversation about making sure we can think. I mean, I just wonder if we're not going to, go back in time in classrooms, and soon we're going to have just chalkboards again
Right.
because it's an environment.
Chalkboards or blue books or whatever.
Yeah, chalkboards, blue books. Just go to old school technology because people were learning, right? I mean, we're not anti-technology, we're not anti-advancement, but we have to recognize when ultimately we as humans, what are we created for, right? It's like, how did God make us? He made us for people, which is why we don't want technology replacing people. And he gave us minds that he intends us to understand the creation with. And that's why knowledge, that's why science was, originally a Christian study. It was, developed by people who believed there was a creator, and as a result of believing there's a creator, believe that there are rules to the creation. And so we want to understand
I think
how they
it's
were created.
understandable. Yeah.
And that's where science comes from, right? Let's understand this world that God created. And that's in that process. It really is part of what makes us human, I think, is just knowing and learning and struggling and doing that work of learning things. And we don't want to deprive ourselves as a species of that experience, because I mean, I think that is what we're created for. We're not created to just have robots do everything for us while we sit around and binge Netflix. That's not an existence that we want, and that's kind of the concern of maybe where AI is taking us, where we don't actually have to do anything because we have machines that can do it all for us. Then what? What do we exist for? Right? To rule and subdue. And yeah,
Yeah. So I think, in summary, I think it's good to have, obviously, a healthy skepticism towards this new technology and understanding that we don't want this new generation of children to be a beta for AI
well, it
the way
is.
that,
I mean,
well, I think though,
we have new technology. We are going to be a beta.
well, I
We're
mean,
gonna learn.
in a sense, that's in some ways that's unavoidable, but in other ways, I think we can do this in as thoughtful a way as possible. I think
Yeah.
I don't think there was enough conversation in society about social media
Oh,
and the way that that was affecting children,
that surprised
and
us, I think,
I think it
because
did, and
we had no nothing to compare it to, right?
right.
The
AI is the same, but I think coming out of that whole social media revolution, I guess you
Yeah,
could call it,
I think we have
we're
something to
we're we're
compare it to.
looking here at this new
There's some
AI
context.
and we're like, okay, let's maybe do this differently and think
Yes.
about how is this gonna impact the kids and what's gonna be best for them.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, and I guess I just said it, but maybe I'll say it better. It's just this idea of whether it's social media or AI or any technology that we have, right? It's like, what's a gun for? That's, that's technology and weapons of war and all of these things that exist. Is how do we make sure, as believers in the way we interact with technological innovations, which have always been happening and always will happen. At one point I read an article back in the day about people who were concerned about trains because they believed that people were not made to ever go beyond 35 miles an hour, was the headline, right? So there were like people alarmists about the advances of technology because trains were going to go too
Yeah.
fast and people were going to be harmed, right?
Yeah.
So anxiety over emerging
It's not
technology
new.
is not a new problem, and I don't know who was complaining about the wheel, but at some point, somebody, I'm sure, was complaining about the wheel and whatever they thought it might do that was harmful. So change is not bad. Adaptation is good. Ruling and subduing is good. And all of this technology, though we express we have concerns about it, comes with real advantages. And that's not just because it makes me better at like cooking at home. Right. It solves our lives and solves problems for us. And so we can, I think, approach it with wisdom without being afraid of it.
I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Politics for Happy People. We hope you will subscribe if you like what you heard today. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Thanks so much for listening.